Hi grade 5s, welcome to another recorded math lesson. Today's title is Vertical and Horizontal Lines and Faces. Our learning intentions and success criteria are: I am learning to describe the characteristics of 3D and 2D shapes and analyze the relationship between them so that I can describe and provide examples of edges and faces that are vertical and horizontal. I'll know I have it when I can identify and draw horizontal and vertical lines, edges, and faces. Okay, so first let's start with a couple definitions for you. So a face is any side on a 3D polygon, okay? And a polygon would be a cube in this case. You're gonna see a cube today, but basically kind of any 3D shape or any 2D shape even is a polygon. So any side is a face. Okay, an edge is any corner where two faces meet. So when I say corner, I don't mean a corner where there's three sides meeting. I mean a corner where only two sides are meeting. Okay, so right, this line here would be an edge. Okay, I'm starting to make a little man here. There we go. All right, horizontal means a line, edge, or face that goes from left to right, okay? Now, when we're talking about two-dimensional shapes, a horizontal edge is always going to go from left to right, like this. But when we're talking about three-dimensional shapes, a horizontal line might actually have a bit of an angle to it. Like, for example, this one's a horizontal line. And the reason for that is because if this were actually a three-dimensional cube, that line would be flat, it would be perpendicular, or sorry, it would be parallel with the ground beneath it, okay? And we're gonna learn a lot more about perpendicular and parallel lines throughout this unit as well. Okay, this line here would also be horizontal, this one is horizontal, this one is horizontal, this one, this one, this one, and this one, all horizontal lines because they're parallel with the ground beneath it, okay? Then vertical is a line, edge, or face that goes up and down. Okay, so if we're talking about our little man here, his body here goes up and down. This line goes up and down, and up and down. Okay, awesome. So I wanted to show you guys something that you're probably familiar with. You've probably seen a Rubik's Cube in your life, and so you might be able to visualize this 3D a lot more easily than something that you're not familiar with. So, and if you have a Rubik's Cube, you can even check this out, or any box that you have, you can check this when we're doing it. So we're gonna go through now and identify all of the horizontal lines on this cube that we can see. We obviously can't see all of the edges, so we're not gonna be able to do all of the edges, but we will do all of the edges we can see. And I wanna correct myself, I said identify lines before, and we don't want to identify all of the lines on this because there's a bunch of lines in the middle that, you know, we don't really care about those. Okay, so on your worksheet today, you're going to be using two different colors to identify these things. For the purpose of this lesson, I'll use purple to identify horizontal lines, and I will use, let's say, orange to identify any vertical lines. Okay? So let's start with vertical. So vertical lines, as I mentioned, go up and down, okay? So the ones that we can see on this Rubik's Cube are this one right here. There's one right here. And then there's also one right here, okay? If we were able to see all sides of the Rubik's Cube, there would also be one more vertical line on the back right here, okay? Next, let's talk about the horizontal lines. Okay, now like I said, if we're talking about a 2D shape, a horizontal line will look just straight like this from left to right. But because we're working with a three-dimensional shape, we have to use our mind's eye to imagine that this shape is actually three-dimensional. And if it were actually three-dimensional, this would be a horizontal line. This would be a horizontal line. This would be a horizontal line. This one would also be horizontal, as would this one and this one. Okay? And then there would also be two more horizontal lines that we can't see, right on this side and on this side. Okay. So again, I just want to reiterate that when we're talking about three-dimensional shapes, your horizontal lines could be tilted, and that's fine, that's normal, as long as you can imagine that the horizontal line is parallel to, which means going in the same direction as the surface beneath it, okay? But if you're just talking about a two-dimensional shape, your horizontal line will always go left to right like this, okay? And your vertical line will always go up and down like this, okay? So you're going to be identifying and drawing on your worksheet today. The worksheet's called Vertical and Horizontal Lines and Faces. It's on Google Classroom. I want you to call me if you need anything on Zoom, and it is due tomorrow.